Hello, I'm Scott Clifford. Welcome to the Part 2 series video on how to design and build your own small manual injection mold machine. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to wire the machine from start to finish. I also teach you how to operate your PID temperature controller and how to set it. I also teach you how to load material into the barrel. You'll learn all the pneumatics and how to operate those. And in the end, you'll actually learn how to mold an actual part like this. So let's get started. Okay, before I started showing you how to wire it up, I thought I would give you a preview of the actual design that you'll actually be able to get off my website, and I thought I'd go through it. This machine, I call it Lu2. I thought I'd go through some of its features and improvements I've made. First of all, the back end here, I moved the nut plate on the other side here, and it's actually welded on here so that you can get a larger tool in if needed. And I also added bearings to it here so that this pushes a lot easier. I've upgraded the material hopper here to a lot larger one, and it also allows you to put on a sleeve of like polycarbonate or acrylic, so you can just load a ton of material if you'd like. And then the other thing I've done is this air pneumatic solenoid valve here I've added, and basically completely updated all the pneumatics to modern pneumatics. What's really cool about this is it features these vented exhaust vents with controllable needle valves here, so that you can control the speed at which the piston can move backwards and forward. And what I found is that on return, when you're actually molding, this hits really hard, and so over time it takes a beating on your air cylinders. This really works well. It slows it down so it doesn't beat it. The other thing I've done is I've upgraded it to 12 millimeter pneumatic air tubes here. And then also the cylinder is actually a 63 millimeter, so it's quite a bit bigger and allows us to push a lot more power. To actuate it, again, this totally eliminates the manual one that I had before that I showed in my video originally. And so to actuate this, you just push this momentary switch to activate it. And you'll note here's the wires that come through for the K-type thermocouple. That's where the wires come through for the heater band. And under here, you'll see the air solenoid. That's where they come in through the unit. Now I'll show you how to actually wire it all up. Get this situated so that, there we go. Okay, we're all set. Before I do that, I'm going to show you a schematic of the unit. This is actually a complete schematic of the entire circuit used to wire it. For some people this is daunting, so I thought I would and then show you in real time how you actually connect it up, so you're not scared to do it. Again, if you're apprehensive or you don't think you can do it right, just have your local electrician help you. It's not hard, but you do want to do it right, because this is line voltage, so it can hurt somebody if you're not properly doing what you should. Any basic circuit is that a line voltage comes in from your house or wherever you're working through a fuse, through it's a double pole single throw switch here, which has that illumination. When it's switched, it actually illuminates a little neon bulb there. And then the line connections are made. Here one connection goes to your solid state relay, the other connection goes to the air valve solenoid, and then it goes through the relay through the heater band. And basically this temperature controller here controls this solid state relay, puts pulses in here, the square waves in here to control the temperature of this heater band. And that's what this temperature controller does. It's actually a PID controller is what it really is. It takes the input or errors basically of the K-type thermocouple and adjusts the pulse width coming out of this wire here to this band to control its temperature. And that's basically how they work. Set the temperature. This adjusts the pulse width to constantly, it's basically a pulse width's really wide at the start, and then as it heats up and gets to temperature, it basically shortens and then turns off, and then sort of burps it along to keep the temperature in check. Here's your solid state, your momentary switch that activates this air valve solenoid here. This is a 5-port two-way valve, basically. Controls the air cylinder in 2 directions. And that's really it. So I'll now show you how to wire that up. And I think the way I approach it, I think it'd make it a lot simpler for you. I noticed my video was, I don't know, I felt it's too long, so I should be able to simplify it so I don't bore you wiring all these guys up. And we'll start from there. Basically, I'll show you by colored wires, the same wires you use in real life. I'm going to start with the line connections, and I'll start with a fat wire, a black wire, which would be line, and then this will represent a 14 gauge wire. So the line connection starts from here, goes from here to your switch, one side of the switch, and then the other side of the switch goes from here to your barrier strip here, like that. Alright, and then we go from your barrier strip clear with your solid state relay, one side of it, and then the other side gets connected right to your heater band coil right like that. Alright, and then the small wires, which will represent, you know, like 18 to 24 gauge. You don't really need big wires for these other connections. Well, there's a line connection. Grab a small wire. There we go. So we'll go from here. There's one line connection. And then we need one more line connection from our momentary switch to here. And that's all the line connections. Now we'll do the neutral connections. Now we'll get a white wire. It'll be again, we'll start with a 14 gauge wire. We'll go here to one side of our switch, and then the other side of the switch, we'll go to our barrier strip here, and then this guy, the barrier strip goes clear to our heater band coil right there. And now the heater band coil is completely connected, and then we need some small wires. Connect up our temperature controller here. So one here, right there, and then we also need to now connect up one side of our air solenoid valve here. So we'll connect one here, and then connect him over here like so. He goes there, and then we're also going to connect one wire on the other side of our switch. We're going to connect him down here. Now you'll notice the reason I brought it this way is because when we do our K-type thermocouple here, we want to make sure we keep these wires away from any of these power wires, because these wires are very sensitive. You want to route both these wires on the upper side of this temperature controller and connect them in to keep them away from these wires. And then we also need to connect up our ground. So we'll go from here on our terminal to chassis ground via a screw and a ring terminal. And that'll connect up our ground. So that basically connects that to chassis ground of the metal of the machine. Alright, now before we do the thermocouple wires, we'll connect up our solid state relay. Again, we'll take another small wire and we'll take the positive side of our solid state relay, and it gets connected here, and then we need a ground side of that solid state relay, and it gets connected here, goes right to number 7 there. So now it's connected. Our solid state relay is fully connected, so is our heater band, so is our switch, and our switch assembly here is fully connected. Now we're left with our K-type thermocouple. Again, for when you connect up this K-type thermocouple, remember, is this connection here, which is our positive wire. You don't want to splice just a wire on here or solder it on or whatever. You want this to be the actual thermocouple wire. So this wire just is, you want to just make sure your thermocouple wire is long enough that it can reach clear over to here. Alright, and then connect it to the positive side, and then get your negative side, which is yellow. They are colored actually, and then it's connected right to here. And these wires are not spliced; they go directly connected to pins 4, 4 and 5. Now, just a caution note that I found with this controller that their manual that they supply when they ship it to you is wrong. So please follow the wire instructions that are labeled on the side of your temperature controller, because the manual, if you follow it, which I did, which really everyone should, it's wrong. And as a matter of fact, it stumped me for a while until I finally figured out that this one is completely different from the actual manual that it's supplied with. Just take note where, like I've showed you here, not what's in the manual. Or if you look on the side of this guy, there's a sticker. Follow that. That's actually correct. So anyway, that is now a completed wiring of your molder and that's how it's all done. If you follow that, you won't go wrong. Again, if you're not confident doing this, just have your local electrician guy or another engineer help you wire it up. That completes the wire instructions. So I'm going to show you how to wire this thing up. What you'll need is to use a 14 gauge wire. So this is 14 gauge stranded wire. What I do is I go down to like Lowe's or Home Depot and get this. You can buy it by the foot. You only need like a foot at the most, probably. But you can buy this and I just cut it out of there. What I like about it, it's got a lot of strands and it's easy to work with. You could use like these kind of terminals, like 250 quick connects, but I prefer not to use these. I prefer actually to solder my connections and then solder on my ring terminals. So for example, I'll use the ring terminals for all these type of connections here and here, and also these guys here. But for the actual terminations here, I actually like to solder them. And then in the end, and when you do solder them, you just have to be careful not to keep your iron on these too long, because it will melt these if you do it. And then when I end, I use this liquid tape, and I actually cover all these connections that someone could actually touch for safety purposes, is what I end up doing at the end, and that's what I like to do. It keeps things sealed from any kind of moisture or anything, and also from people touching it. So anyway, that's what I like to go through that, how I connect this up. Okay, and here you see me doing the actual wiring of starting on the terminals, and right there I'm connecting up the heater band terminals, it looks like, for the line, or actually the neutral connection. Now I'm connecting up the neutral connections to the power switch, the input power switch, getting those terminated and prepped. And now I'm doing, looks like the line connections from the power switch to the barrier strip, getting those terminated and attached. And now I am connecting up the the line and neutral to the temperature controller, getting that terminals attached. So those are all connected now. And here I'm actually connecting the input wires to the solid state relay, the positive and negative terminals. The blue in there is positive and the yellow one is negative. Here's what I figured out. I powered it up and figured out that there's an error in the wiring. It took me quite a while, but here I'm showing the actual proper connections, and then here I'm actually showing it work. Before I just got errors, but here it's actually working. And now I've got it all finished, wired, and I'm sealing it with the liquid tape. And I apply two coats. You see here I get one coat, and then you'll see it's dried, then I apply a second coat. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to load the material into the barrel. Before I do that, I show you that this has all the updates, just like the video you saw with the Lu 2, but it's on, this is Lu 1, the original, but it has all the updates just like in the video. Here's the new pneumatics, so you can control it. And it has the speed brakes on there. This one is for the return, this one's for forward. The forward is full open, but the return has been adjusted so it doesn't go back too fast. So that's it. Yeah. Here's an empty hopper and loading material in. Loading it in. That's how you do it.
I didn't put it all in so you can see it go in, but now I'll fill it up. We'll load the barrel up. You can see it. Now the plunger doesn't go in all the way, so it's fully loaded. Now temperature is at 52, it's got to go to 237. Anyway, that's how simple it is to load the material. I'll let it heat up and we'll do a little test run on just to eject some material out of it, and then we'll mold apart. Okay, what I thought I'd do is now show you how to set up your PID controller here so you can set your temperatures. So when you first turn it on, it goes through a power cycle and it shows you a serial number and your setting. Like I'm got in C and I've got a K-type thermocouple. And then this is your actual measured temperature and this is the set point. And so it basically will continue to heat up until it reaches your set point. And to change your set point, you can just basically move these around and move it up and down and to anything you want. So for example, I'll move it over here and I'll change that up there to say 7. I'll go back to my 7 and bring him back down to 0. Then when you're done, just hit your mode button or let it rest. So that's how you set your set point. The next thing you do is, if you need to set it up, is there's 2 menus. The first menu, hold this button, mode button, for 3 seconds, and it'll go into its mode setting here. And this first one is mode is an automatic mode. It'll automatically set all the PID settings automatically, and you can change it to yes to no there. They recommend you leave it at yes, so that's what I'd recommend too. And then as you cycle through it, here's your alarms, up, lower limits, and I don't know what an SC is. There's your P setting of your PID. There's 3 parameters: there's P, I, and D. And that's where you adjust that up or down if you needed to do it. There's your I setting, and here's your D setting. And if you were going to mess with those, I would probably, if you're having a problem, it means it's like oscillating, then you probably want to mess with your P, or excuse me, your D and your I settings. But most of the time you won't even have to mess with them. Here's your E, and this is a little parameter for ripple, so that's what that is. Next one is a setting for, I don't really know what that setting is, but you already messed with that one. And then you're back to the start, and then your next mode, if you hold both these buttons, this button and the mode button at the same time, it'll put you into the second menu. So if you hold them together, there it is. Okay, if you press them together, it asks for a password, and for this particular unit, it's 2. So if I hit this, now I'm in the second menu, and this is where you set the input for your type of thermocouple. In my case, it's K. That's actually a funky looking K, but that's actually for K, and you can change it based on the manual what you want. And it's for a decimal point setting. This is a lower, I think it's a lower limit and the upper limit of the next things for your the limits you actually want to set for it. And there, in this case, it's 0 and 400 degrees C. There's some buffers, but you don't really need them. And there's the alarm settings. There's a high and a low setting for it. And there's actually the second alarm, but this unit doesn't have one. It only has 1 alarm if you use it. Basically an output. You want to, I don't know, turn on a beeper or something. And here's the output if you say you want to actually use a PID controller to maybe make a refrigerator or something, and you need to change the units, basically positive or negative on your PID math. And in our case, we want heat, so that represents heat, H-E-A-T. And so we want it as heater. And that's it. That's your settings for setting this thing. So it's heating up to 330 or 237 there, and after that we'll mold. I'll show you how to actually load material, mold apart. Okay, we're at temperature here, and we'll purge a little bit out of the barrel. So I'll press the button and purge a little lot of material out. All right, we'll clean that out of there. All right. Now I've got this little overmold to show you. This is 2, 4, 5 wires in it. So we'll load that in there and mold that one just to show you that guy first. We'll load that guy in there. Lock him down. Then we'll inject the material, see it going in. And hold it just a minute. Make sure it presses out. And then while it's there, I go ahead and load the material again. So I'll hit it a few times to load the material back in for the load it back in for the next run. All right, we'll pull that mold out of there. All right. This just cures pretty quick, so I can pull this right off. There it is. It's already molded. Pull these, make sure these are released. And pull our slides apart and pull it out of there. There we go. You can see the detail there. So that's how you do an overmold. And I'll do the next one. Okay, alright. Once you mold a part, it'll actually, once you reload the barrel, it'll actually drop the temperature down. So you have to make sure before you load your next part, you're at temperature. We're already at temperature, so I'll load the next mold in. This is a 7 conductor wire over mold. I'll lock it down and we'll push the button and eject the part. Hold it, let it set, and load the material for the next mold. Pull the mold out. There she is. You can see it real good, but that's molded really good. There, the wires are seated in there. If your mold's made right, you won't have any flash. So this one's, so now I can pull the slides, pull it out. There you go. See the detail? This is a really detailed part. So that's 7 wires, and this little sprue here we'll cut off later. But anyway, that's how you mold a part. And before I quit, I always purge the barrels. I'll wait until it gets to temperature, and then it's at 228, so it's a little shy of that. And then I'll purge the barrel. So it's about 231. That's pretty good. So we're ready to purge the barrel now. So I'll take all the material out, and then I'll shut her down and ready for our next time we mold parts. So take all our, that's all the material in there. It's hot. Anyway, so that's it. Okay, now everything there is to know about how to make a small manual injection mold machine. You know what parts are made out of. You also know how to build it. I also show you how to wire it. The temperature controller, the solid state relay. I showed you how to do the pneumatic actions and all that. I showed an updated machine. We've actually molded parts such as these. Here's a couple other examples that we've done in the past. Here's a threaded one that pulls a seal on a product that has to go underwater, so you can do stuff like that. Anyway, you've learned everything you need to know. I hope you liked it. I hope you subscribe and press the like button on my channel. And the next video in the series, I'm going to actually show you how to make a molded part, a simple molded part, so you know how to make a mold like one of these. Simple one. It won't have slides like this one, but we'll just show you how you can actually make a part, or even how you can get one made yourself. Anyway, that's it. I hope you like it. Again, please subscribe. And if you have any questions, please send me an email. You can also go to my website if you're interested in downloading a design of one of these so you can make one yourselves. Thanks very much. I'll see you in the next video.